Hello, I'm Rick Shevchek at Thorvie International. I want to thank you from all of us at Thorvie for the purchase of your new clipper blade home. I'm going to go through and demonstrate on what you kind of get with the equipment, walk through, talk about the accessory package, how to disassemble the blades, how to test the blades, clean them, sharpen them, reassemble, and go through everything like that. So when you get your home, the top surround will be packaged separately. There are 5 bolts that you can just bolt it right down to it. The top plate will just go on. You'll see this one is our aluminum plate. It's a double-sided aluminum plate. It is hollow ground, tapered for hollow ground. There's 2 82-degree 5/32 flathead cap screws that just go in there and bolt it right to the arbor. We also have a flat steel plate that you can purchase. That plate is just steel. It's perfectly flat. It's blanchard ground, so it already has the surface grooves in there. The difference kind of between the steel and the aluminum is the steel, we have the blanchard grinding. I don't know if you can see that in there, but the surface grooves are in there to when you charge your plate, and we'll go through that later a little bit more. The grooves hold the compound in the plate so that way it passes underneath the clipper blade, which will sharpen it. Now over time, these surface grooves will go away, and then you have to get the plate resurfaced, and we re-blanchard grind it to put the swirls back into it. So these plates you can resurface. It is double-sided. This plate you should be able to get about 700 to 800 sets on a steel blade, but more of the clipper blades nowadays are hollowed versus flat, but there are some that do require that. Aluminum plates, these are more smooth. You kind of got to break them in, so you're going to have probably about 15 sets, and then you'll start getting some grooves created in there. Like this one has some more grooves in it already. So the first couple times you use this plate, you will be charging it a little bit more often because your clipper blade will kind of create those surface scratches. After time, about 800 to 1,000 sets, your plate might start to wave a little bit, because when your clipper blade is running back and forth, I'll just grab a cutter here, your inside and outside edge are getting used, but your center is overlapping, so you're going to get more usage out of the center. And I'll kind of show you how you eliminate and wear the plate evenly. But a way you can check is if you use a straight edge here, and this won't hurt your plate, you can do it, just do it lightly. Right now it's nice and straight, and if you just kind of turn it sideways just a little bit and use the corner and just lightly brush across here, you'll be able to see the scratches. Like right now I got a little bit heavier on the outside, but I can still see a line going down through the center. So the plate's in great shape, but I'll show you later, like even when you're sharpening, when you go back and forth like this, you can have a little longer pause there and there to kind of work that outside rim versus the center. And also that'll help hold it straight, and I'll go through that as well. So that's kind of how you know if you need to get your plates resurfaced. So the AV-36 comes with one 2-pound can of honing compound. Honing compound's pretty cheap. You can always get an extra can if you want. The other stuff that it does come with it, I'm just going to place these kind of in the area where I'm going to be using them for today's demonstration of sharpening. So we have the honing compound that comes with it. Then if you get the accessory package with the kit, it does come with a brass and steel brush and also a nylon brush. The brass and the steel ones, you can use these for when you are disassembling your clipper blades and cleaning, getting the hair and grit off them. Not going to hurt it by any means, but after you're done sharpening, when you want to get the compound off of there, you'll use the nylon brush. It's a little bit softer, protect it, helps deburr it, things like that. So the nylon brush I always put on the side of my clipper blade home, right here, so when I take my blade off, I can do that right away. One of these I keep down here. Another thing it comes with is a nice button magnet. It really has nice suction right here, so that way you can hold on to that clipper blade when you're running back and forth on your plate. Keep that down there. For our steel plate, we do have a smaller button magnet that comes with the plate. It's got less pull because obviously a steel plate is magnetic, so the can transfer through the clipper blade and want to hold it down, so you need a lighter pull. So we do supply one with that plate as well. We also have a this is a grip applicator pad for when you're charging your plate and everything. We'll run through that in a little bit. There is some plate cleaner to clean your plate. We're going to show you how to clean the plate. The charging solution right here, so we got both of those. There's also some clipper blade oil for when we're reassembling them. There's a couple key points of you basically want to put a drop or two on the front and back rails. We'll show you that at the end as well. There's a socket setting tool. Socket setting tool helps bend the ears of the socket straight, because when the clipper blade's going back and forth, the ears flare out, so you can this end will adjust it to the factory settings, and then the opposite end you can set the socket for up and down tilt. We'll go through that with assembly as well. There's also some test fur. We supply test fur with our accessory packages. You can use test string if you want to, but I prefer to use the fur. There's some other accessories that you can purchase to make things a little bit easier as well. When you're checking your spring tension, you can use like a 5-pound kitchen scale. Another thing that works really nice is this blade scale, because you can push real easy and nice on the socket. It is a little bit more accurate. But the rub block will show you exactly how you sharpen that clipper blade, whether it's nice and straight or if your blade was tilted and it's going at an angle. So we'll go through that in a little bit. There's also a metal removal gauge right here. This is nice because to properly sharpen a clipper blade, you need to remove 1 to 2 thousandths of material to get the roundness out of the teeth. So this gauge works really nice. You can set your clipper blade on there, you can zero it out after you sharpen it, set it back down. It'll tell you if you got to that 1 to 2 thousandths. I prefer to do 2 because then you're guaranteed that it's going to get through that round. If somebody's used that clipper blade a little bit too much and overcutting, 1 might not get through the whole round. So I prefer to use 2. There's also a blade counting scale. This works nice so you can track and check your plate after every 50 parts or whatever. And then you know once you start getting up to the 800 parts that you're getting close to having to flip your side. Some people will have 2, 1 for plate life and also 1 for how many blades you did per month. So that's a couple options you want. This right here is just a nylon brush. You can get them on Walmart for really cheap. This helps deburr the blades after you've done sharpening them, and we will explain that as well. We also do carry a line laser right here. This runs a center point down your clipper hone, so that way when you're sharpening, you can go nice and straight, and you can work that the center line, so you get the proper hollow, and you sharpen nice and straight. So that's what we got for our accessory stuff, and we will go through the disassembling. So we're going to go through some of the different types of blades. Your most common are your A5 detachable blades. That's these 4 here. There's multiple different sizes. We do have a chart that recommends your blade setback for when you're reassembling them. That should come with the package, so you know how far down to hold the cutter from the comb. So these are the A5. Your bottom comb, this is your comb, and the top is your cutter. Slide that over so you can see the cutter. The comb and the cutter are both sharpened hollow on all of the A5 detachable blades. Whether it's a size 4, a 4F, a 10, a 40, it really doesn't matter. And it is in that chart whether it's animal or human clippers, and you know what that setback should be and if they should be hollowed or flat. Other blades that you have are adjustable. This is an adjustable blade. This will run from 1/100th of an inch, or you can adjust it up so you can do longer trimmings up to 3/32. Now there's different ones that are there. So these ones, your cutter is hollow sharpened, but your comb is flat because you're riding up and down and using different points of the cutters together. So your comb on this one is flat, that's where you'd want a flat plate, and your cutter is hollowed. Trimmer blades, these are small little trimmer blades. The comb on these ones are hollowed, and your top cutter, those are technically flat. You can get away with using the very outer rim because you'll get a less hollow than the inside. You wouldn't move it back and forth and just doing the outside edge, but we recommend you using a flat plate on them. These are small. These cutters are a lot smaller. I'll bring it up to the camera. You can see that the cutter is a lot thinner. So the thinner the material, the easier you can heat up that blade. So the smaller the cutter is, or the combs are always big enough, but the cutters, even some 5-in-1 blades, the cutters get pretty small. The easier it is to heat up that blade. And if you heat it up too much, that can tendency to have the steel warp a little bit. Now, the smaller the steel, the less time it takes to sharpen that blade because it's smaller. So instead of like 5 passes, up and down, you only have to do 1 or 2 to get that tooth out of removal. So you want to be careful with your small trimmer blades. There are some 5-in-1 blades. The comb is hollow, and most people will just replace the cutters. The cutters are $4.50, and that's how I would recommend sharpening them. Just hollow the comb, replace the cutters, and you can get those from Oster or Wall, things like that. We do have recommended parts that you should have on hand and the parts numbers in the package that comes with the machine as well. So to get the correct hollow on the plate into the blades, with the plate being tapered, you want to use the center line of your plate, and that's why I'm using a laser line right now, because the center point of your cutter right here, which is basically right behind where the blade guide is, right where the back side of the V, that's going to be your center point of your cutter. So basically from the tips of the teeth to the back edge, right in the behind this blade glide, that's your center point, and that's where the center point of your plate should be. So if we're right here, you want to be right in that center going in and out. Now, you want to take a Sharpie, and I have a black and a gold one because some cutters are black, and you want to mark your cutter right there. Well, you know it on your cutter where that center point's going to be, but you want to slide your cutter down to your comb, and that same center line is the same center line that you're going to use for your comb. And the reason for that, and you want to put a mark and you want to bring it down a little bit so that way the laser can kind of shine through that. If you take this 8.5 blade, or if you have this 4F, if you line up your back rails there, your cutter is exactly the same, but your comb is just taller for the amount of hair that goes through for different heights of cut. So this cutter here, we're going to do the same thing. The center point is going to be right by that blade guide, but you have to mark that same center line on your comb, because it's not in the center it's not the center of the back rail to the teeth on the comb, it's the center line of the cutter. So this one, seeing this is black, we're going to use a gold marker, and we're just going to mark that center point right there again, and draw a line back down there so we can see it. So I'm going to just go through and I'm going to mark all these blades right away before I disassemble them, because otherwise you will lose that and you will not see it. Because right now they're obviously put together where they're supposed to be. That one, I'm going to sharpen 4 blades today. Mark this one. And all you have to go down is about 3/8 of an inch, just so you know that you're holding the clipper blade straight. So now, what I mean by straight, and I don't know if you can see the laser line here, but I got the laser line set up, like if you line up your 2 bolts here, I got it going right down the center nicely. When you hold the magnet, for one, on these clippers, so you know where the center line is right by that blade guide, you want the magnet to be in the center of your center line going this way, and you want it in the center of your clippers. So that way when you put down your pressure going here, when you're sharpening, you want about 3 pounds of push, roughly, to go back and forth on your plate, right here. You also want, that laser line helps line you up to make sure that you're using that center line. Because you don't want to be sharpening over here and going back and forth, because you're not going to get the same hollow as if you're using the center line. You also want to make sure that you're not got your teeth at an angle, because then your rub pattern, and we'll go through that later, will be kind of slanted. You want it to be a nice straight line or have a little bit of an arc. So you want the teeth and everything be nice and straight. Same thing on your cutter or your comb here. You have your center line, so you want your magnet in the center of that center line and the center from up and down. So that way you're distributing even pressure across from the back rail to the teeth. And side to side and everything, so you're not pushing more pressure on one side, you're removing more material off this side versus that side, and then they're not going to cut properly. So right here again then, you want to line up your laser line with your black line, and you want to be able to just go nice and straight. So when I sharpen a blade like this, a freshly charged plate, a charged plate you can usually get about 5 sets of clippers on, and then you'll have to recharge the plate. The first blade that you do, you'll probably have to do about 4 passes, with 1 pass is out, in. That's 1 pass. You want to do about 4. Your next one you might have to do 5, because you have a little bit less. So when you disassemble the blades, you basically, to a clipper blade, you have your comb, your cutter, your blade guide, your spring, socket, and your screws. So you just remove your screws, and I just keep everything in a nice row. So that way you don't mix anything up, and you aren't wondering what goes where. So just loosen up both screws, put everything down, I put my screws there, I got my cutter, my comb, and right away what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my brush and just clean right here. Some people will dump this in like an acetone and clean it out. I don't do that. It's just a little bit, it's another step, it's a little messy. I just wipe them down. You want to get in between the teeth right there and make sure you get all that grit out of there. And then I usually remove the spring and the socket. I get stuck once in a while. I do like to use a little brush on this. You can use the same brush, doesn't matter, just a preference thing. Get inside the spring ears there and just keep everything in a nice row. So that way you sharpen. You want to clean your plate. We do have our plate cleaner right here. All you want to do is just spray a little bit on there, a couple squirts around there. I like to use just a shop towel to get all the excess, not the compound or anything, but you'll get some steel shavings in there. So you want to just kind of work this around and clean your plate and pick up any of those steel particles and stuff like that. So and you can definitely tell the difference, from a clean plate to a charged plate. So now it dries pretty much fairly fast. Doesn't matter if there's a little bit extra on there, but you can see all that crap that came off of there. So put that back there. Next thing you want to do is you want to charge your plate. Charging solution is a mixture, so you want to shake it pretty well, get it nice and mixed up. You don't need a whole lot of this. This again here, you can put a couple squirts on each side. You can use the shop towel to do it. I prefer to use a little sponge brush, and I'll show you how I do it with this. A little bit quicker, a little bit easier, and less towels. So just put the squirt on each side right there. Not a whole lot, because you don't want to turn the compound into a paste, but you want to put a little bit more if you're using a foam brush, because some's going to soak up in there. So I kind of actually just turn this on and just run it back and forth to get it worked in there a little bit. Then I'll take a spoon with my compound. You don't need a whole lot, and you'll see. I slow this down a little bit and just kind of spread some around on here. Just about like that. That might even be just a fuzz too much, but you want to have enough compound into the grit of the grooves of the wheel so it sticks in there. So you're just going to take your applicator pad and you're just going to work it in there. You know that you'll have enough charge if there's still some compound on there, and you can tell right now that there's going to be some extra compound on here once I'm all said and done with, which ain't a big deal. It's just you'll get the feel for how much compound you actually need. So you want to have a little bit of extra on there because then you know that your plate is fully charged. So now your plate is charged enough, and we're going to go through the sharpening of how to do it. We also have another piece here. It's a plate demagnetizer. When clipper blades run back and forth on each other, friction gets into the steel. So you need to pull that out because otherwise they're going to magnetize to each other and they're just going to chatter, or they won't want to slide at all. So you don't have to do it every time you sharpen. I just always do. It takes 2 seconds to do it. So you can start with your cutter or comb, doesn't matter. You want to make sure that your laser level is on. You want to use your center points, like we talked about. Button magnet on here. And now, the metal removal gauge is nice because you want to remove that 1 to 2 thousandths. So, right away when you do this, bring your blade over here, drop it onto your center. I don't know if we can see it. Can we zoom in enough? Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to bring it down to 0. We're going to sharpen it, put it back on. We want to see that needle move 2 thousandths. So a lot of times these cutters, you have to just kind of hold it on there in the center. Your comb will fit on those little. So I'm just going to kind of go through this, do the top cutter, and then I'll do the bottom comb right away. I'll show you. So you're going to sharpen it. You're going to use your nylon brush to kind of get the excess powder, because you're going to see the swarf, is what they call it, in there. Then we'll deburr it on the big brush, and then we'll check our metal to make sure that we don't have to put it back on for a couple extra sharpenings. So we'll get going up to speed. You just want to stay nice and straight and sharp. Sparks, you will see that. That's 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to hold here for a second, nice and straight with that line, because that'll take out any imperfections. When I'm going back and forth, if my cutter's moving a little bit, at the end, if you hold it for a second perfectly straight, you'll eliminate any imperfections when you're sharpening it. So right away, I'm just going to brush that off. I'm going to bring it over here, and you just want to swipe up and down on this nylon brush. Your last pass, you want to go through the teeth, so if any little burr is left on there, it gets pushed backwards, not where you're cutting. So run it through there. Then I'm going to check my metal removal gauge, and we were at 0. And took off about 1.5 thousandths. Good. We're going to go right to our comb blade. We're at 0. Tell when the plate runs out of charge, because you won't get the swarf in here. It's like pencil shavings. You want, once you start running out of that, that means your plate is no longer charged. So you want to just watch for that. Clean it off, put your magnet down. Here again, deburr it, and check our metal. Right there, you can see I went down almost 2 thousandths, but 1 3/4. So that one should sharpen perfectly fine. And then you just move on to your next ones and just keep going. So not every time that you don't have to measure every single blade. When you're first starting out, you probably should, but once you get to know your home and how long a charge lasts, I know that 4 passes are going to take off about 1.5, so I'll probably do 5 passes because the grit's coming out a little bit. But once you start seeing that swarf diminish, then you're going to want to check, because once you start running a compound, that's what's sharpening your blade. So I'm just going to go through here. Another thing you want to make sure you do is you want to go from the very edge to the edge. You want to even go past just a fuzz, so that way you don't leave a high spot in there, and you are using the whole surface of your plate. plate. Again, I held it nice and straight right there for a second just to get rid of any imperfections. Brush it off here. Burr it. This plate is a little bit newer too, so I might take a couple extra sets, you know, it might not last as long as the charge of the 5-6 sets, but we'll find out. This one I'll double check and just see where we're at. Still got some swarf in there, so our plate charge is still good. Yep, 1 3/4, so we still got a nice charge. These black pages, you just gotta make sure you use a different color because it's kind of hard to see on some of these. Starting to lose a little bit of our swarf, so we might have to recharge. I got about 1 on there. I'm going to recharge the plate because I didn't have as much of the material. Now this plate, I'm glad I see. I'm going to zoom in here once, or I'll come up to the camera. So you can see that the front rail here is pretty much almost gone. You're hitting some of the casting. So this is going to be probably one of the last sharpenings that you're going to get out of it. If we take this blade, you can see that you have your back rail and your front rail with the teeth on the comb. Once those are gone, you're basically on a flat surface, so you don't have that recess, so they don't want to cut. So I did sharpen this one. I'll test it. If it doesn't cut, I'll tell them that they have to replace it, because I still do have a fuzz of a lip on the back rail. So we'll see how it works. So not every single time that you need to charge your plate do you have to clean it. You don't have to clean it as much. But here again, you're just going to spray a little bit here. Just turn it on a little bit. Get her in there. A little bit of compound. And your pad. Again, I had a little bit too much compound on there. You want to get it kind of right, because otherwise you're just kind of wasting compound. I'm just going to go through and finish all these up quick. Only did a couple there because I already had like 1 1/4 already removed off it. And now these last 2, I know it's a freshly charged plate, so I know that I won't have to charge it. that's all it takes to sharpen the clipper blades. This one, the rail's getting a little bit low. Now we'll go through the final steps of cleaning and everything. So once I get done with these, I usually take, and if I was sharpening full time, I would use this right here is just odorless mineral spirits. Kind of helps get any excess steel and crap like that out of it. I would typically normally use like a 1 quart metal paint jar, clean it out, put a couple magnets on the bottom, because then all the steel particles will suck to those magnets. So I just kind of dip them in here real quick. This dries pretty fast. I just put them in a straight row. And then I'll just shop towel them off. Just a little dip until it takes. And just kind of wipe them off. So after I get done wiping them off, I'll turn my power demagnetizer on, and you just want to run it across there and just pull any little bit of magnification out of there that's in there. Some people will put these on a foot switch, which is nice because then you can just step on it, turns it on. When you step off it, it goes off. Alright, and that is it. Now we're going to go through the rub pattern, making sure that your sharpening is nice and straight. This is the adjustable blade that we talked about earlier. I didn't sharpen it because it's brand new, it's straight. I just wanted to show you, and use it for demonstration purposes, that your comb is flat. If you actually bring this and rub it around on your block, it's going to show you exactly the rub pattern and how it is. So this one you can kind of see, if we can zoom in there, everything is straight. So that means that this, it's a flat ground cutter, or a comb. Now if we take our cutter, you're going to see, and rub it around in there, you should see that your pattern, if we can get that, it should be darker, basically in a straight line, but it might kind of crown up at an angle, and same at the back, showing that. So these are the ones that we just sharpened. So I'm going to rub this around here, and I'll point it out with a black marker, what I'm talking about with the sharpening line. So this one, if we can see right here, I can see that it kind of goes right here. So the center tips, it's all the way across, but it kind of goes like this. Right there. I'm just going to hold it up in my right light. It's kind of hard to see, so you got to kind of know you got to put it in the right light. And this is exaggerated just a fuzz, but I can see it in here. There's a little shaded area, so I'm going to do both of these real quick for you, just so you can see. Just rub it around there about 15 times, and you can definitely see your crown line. Okay, so if I bring these over, you can see that it kind of starts on the outside here, kind of comes up and back down. But the point from right here to the other end is perfectly straight. Now if you were on your plate and you were cocked and not using the right center line, it would be at an angle. So you're looking for it to be a nice straight line. You have the same thing on this one, where this one, it's just on the little outer edges are exactly the same, comes up in the center. It can be perfectly straight too, but you want it so it's not angled. Then you know that your cutter, it's going to cut nice. As long as you put it together properly and have the right setback, it'll cut great. So I'm just going to run through and just check all mine, because if something's curved, you want to do it now before you reassemble it, before you test it. That one looks good. So now that we did our rub pattern, know everything's going to work good, we want to adjust the ears on the socket. And I'm talking about these two little ears right there, where the little piece for the clipper fits in and rubs the cutter back and forth. So you want to use the fat part right here, because you can see right now, if we go like this, it's got play side to side. You can see that. So that means those ears are bent out. So you want to just stick that in there. It's the same width of what it is from the factory. Just grab a pliers, bend them straight. So we're going to go through and just do all of them real quick. It takes a matter of 2 seconds. You want to make sure you do it so the clippers work nice. There are some other tools out there that work good, but these are perfect. They work nice. It takes 2 seconds. There. Okay. Now we're going to go into the assembly. And then after that, then we check our spring tension. So now, we basically have our cutter, our comb. You want to make sure that your blade guide, that does fall off once in a while, so you want to make sure the blade guide is on there, because that's what helps kind of hold that cutter in there. Otherwise, you're not going to get your proper spring tension. It's not going to work. Then you have your socket and your screws. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my socket into my spring and get it ready. Right there. It's sitting right here. You set your cutter on top, and what I do is I kind of line up the back rails to start. It doesn't matter. It's going to change. So I'll line up my back rails perfectly. So what I'll kind of do is set it down there. Then I'm just going to put my spring and socket right on top, right there. Then I'm going to pinch down right in the center. I'm going to flip it over. It doesn't have to be perfect. Pinch it together, because you're still going to move it around. And you can put your screws right into the holes. Phillips screwdriver. Some of them are flathead, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but you don't want to tighten these up right now. You want them a little bit loose so you can adjust your setback, like we'll go through in a little bit. So you got one there, bring it here. So on almost all animal blades, they're either going to be a 1/16th setback or a 1/32nd. A 1/32nd, and we do have that chart that you will get with the information. The 1/32nd is about the width of a credit card, so obviously 1/16th is going to be width of like 2 credit cards. There are some tools that you can purchase to get that perfectly, but the more you do it, you're going to know exactly where to place it. It'll become like second nature. So now you want to make sure that you can still move this around. If you can't, like this side I can move, this side I can't, so I'm going to back off of the screw a little bit so I can make sure I can move it around to be right where I want. So you want to make sure, I usually line up these teeth, and you want to make sure that you got that. This is a size 10. So a size 10, you're going to want a 30-second setback, so about the width of a credit card. So if you kind of move it like this. So I line up the teeth with the other teeth so I can see how far down I am. So if you want to check it, you can put this credit card right where those cutter teeth are, and you should be able to see the part of the comb, about the width of a credit card. So I'll try and zoom in. Let me just get this one side moved. So now, if we can zoom in on this, I don't know if we're going to be able to see this in the video. If you place this on the cutter teeth, and you get to the comb, not the very tips of the comb, the part that's sharpened on the comb. This is a 1/30 or 1/32nd with the credit card. It's right there. So that's the setback you want. Now, if it was a 16th, you want double that. So now I'm going to pinch here. I'm going to bring it over and kind of hold it right here, and just lock these two down. I kind of do them, a little bit of tension on each one, because you don't want to over tighten one and then one side kicks out. So I kind of go back and forth to get nice, even tension, And at the end I'm going to grab it here nicely and bring it like this. If I have a flathead screwdriver, I'm not going to hold it in the palm, because if it slips off, you're going to take a part of your hand off, your skin out of there too. So you want that nice and tightened down. Then after you're done, you want to just make sure that you didn't adjust and it's sitting crooked. You want evenness. I usually look at the back rail, you know, of how that's sitting, because sometimes it's a little hard to make sure that you're nice and straight, but it's nice straight there. So now you want to check your spring tension. Proper spring tension on a clipper blade is between 2 3/4 and 3.5 pounds of pressure, or 2 3/4 and 3 1/4. Sorry. This blade scale works pretty nice. So what you want to do is you want to kind of put your cutter even with your comb on one side. You're going to take your spring and put it right on that cutter, or your blade scale, and you're going to bring it over, and once that moves, that cutter moves, you're going to read it. This one is way too tight. You can tell I'm going all the way in, so we have to remove some tension. Removing tension is a lot easier, because you're just going to take a flathead screwdriver, you're going to go into here, and you're just going to bend the spring up a little bit. It is spring steel, so you got to kind of overbend it. If you overbend it too much, don't worry about it. You can add tension with it being on. Right now I can tell that it's sliding a lot more free, so I took off quite a bit of tension there. But we'll check it right here again. And right here, you don't want to hold down on the spring, because then you're not going to get an accurate reading. So I always put my thumb basically on the socket here. And I push it in. Now you can tell that it's barely moving and it's going. So I wanted to kind of show you that you can go over and bend it. So if you got to add tension now, what you want to do is you want to slide the cutter all the way over, so you're almost to the ear of the socket, and you want to bring this in here, and you want to pinch down right past the bend, you know, right in there. So you want to pinch down in there. I'm going to close these up a little bit and bring it down just a little bit. Add some tension. You want to slide it over to the other side. Do the same thing. And again, you can overdo this as well too. So you got to just kind of be a little bit careful. But you'll get the hang of it, you know. You bring it in here, and you want it to be right here. We're moving in. We're at 2 1/2, so we need to add just a little bit more. You want it to be set nice, because that's the proper spring poundage that you, for them to work really nice. Bring it in here, and right there it went right at 2 3/4. And these are labeled at yellow. So when you're reassembling and checking your spring tension, you can either lubricate the cutters as you're putting them together, or you can do them after they're put together. If you just slide your cutter over to the side, all the way over, you want to be about where the ear is, right there. All you need is one little drop in the center there, and on each side of the back rail. That's all you need for oil. You don't need a whole lot, because that makes it slide nice and easier. And you kind of want to check your spring tension after you've oiled them, because that's when they're going to be working the best. And right here, we are at 2, or right about 3, right in the center. So we know that that's going to work out well. Last thing we want to do is I always test my clippers after I'm done. You can get an Oster clipper pretty cheap on eBay sometimes, or even a brand new one is not a bad investment. So literally just put it on there, and you just want to kind of just touch it. You want to make sure that it's not pushing the hair over. It should just pop right off really nicely. So you just want to use a little bit, so this lasts a long time. You can see it just falls off. I mean, that's what you're looking for. You know that that's going to cut perfectly. So take that one off and just try them all. A lot of times if you just turn it on, it will fall into place. Right here. It's cutting really nice. It's not pushing. It's shaving it perfectly. So know that that one's great. This is the one that does not, that the front rail was pretty much gone. So we'll see if this one's cut or not. This one is popping. Not as much.
but it's also got the tallest comb, so sometimes you got to kind of peel it up in the air here and just kind of go through. See how it popped right off really nice? So different cutters cut hair differently, so if you just kind of hold up a little section on your taller combs, that will cut fine, but it's not just going to shave through. So you got to kind of learn how to use the fur as well. But all these smaller ones, you can buzz right through them. And here again. Get a different part here. You can see it just falls right off again. Cutting really nice. So we know that every cutter is, I like to test every one to make sure that I guarantee 100% satisfaction. So, if you have any questions at any time, please don't hesitate to call me. Local number is 920-497-0572. Otherwise, for toll-free for Canada customers, things like that, it is 866-497-0572. Thank you.